I started this blog because I'm here studying in the United States right now, and I really wanted to put out a different perspective than the conversation that was going on at Tahrir Square, and give a voice for international Egyptian students studying abroad.
Why did you choose to do a blog? Why did you put it online?
When you're abroad, there are difficulties how you can communicate. There are different ways, but I thought a blog would be, a short post where you can, put forward an idea or a thought or something, and I thought blogging would be a nice platform. Twitter is unique. In a split second, you can spread something around the world. So of course, I've been blogging and putting, links to my blog on Twitter and trying to share the blog with people on Twitter. The possibilities are there that people will read it, and you can, I think, affect change through Twitter. If, like we saw in Egypt, Twitter played a very important role, and Facebook and social media in general played a very important role in the revolution, and it still does. And of course, Twitter and Facebook facilitated and helped these protests and this uprising, but I'm not part of the group who really thinks social media it was a social media revolution, because if you look at pure numbers, we have around 85 million Egyptians. About 11% of Egyptians have Facebook, and maybe 1 to 2% of Egyptians have Twitter. So it's a very minimal amount of people who have access to these websites, and even only I think the latest number I read was only 27% of Egyptians have internet. So the amount of people who have internet access, have Facebook, Twitter, use social media is very limited. But what made this uprising special was, for the first time, you saw people who came from the upper middle class and even the elite. They went to the streets. That never happened before. It usually was, a group of 2,000, 3,000 people, the activists who would go to a protest. But for the first time, January 25th, you saw all these Egyptians showing up and protesting. And I think this was what made it unique. And the reason all these people came together was of social media, like websites like We Are All Khaled Saeed, for example, which has over 1 million followers. Social media played an important role, but I wouldn't want to say it was like a social media revolution. I wouldn't say that, and I don't know what you think, but I think a lot of people are on the same page, like Walid Rashid, member of the co-founder of April 6 movement, who was April 6 movement was very involved in this uprising. He also thought that it wasn't, a social media revolution, but certainly played a very important role. Today we published the Egyptian student abroad. We published this article, Washington's Fight Against the Mubarak Doctrine, for example. When I go on Twitter, I send it to people who I know would really be interested in this article. So journalists who write about Egypt, for example, and activists also on the ground. For example, here we have Ms. Courtney Rauch. She works at Freedom House here in Washington, and she retweeted my blog post, and you create these kind of relationships.